Big news out of Las Vegas. The Raiders have just restructured the contract of star defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. But what does this really mean for the team? Let's break it down. Wilkins is one of the best players on the roster and one of the highest paid, too. His contract averages $27.5 million per year, and for this season alone, he was set to count about $27 million against the salary cap. That's a big chunk of money. To create some breathing room, the Raiders decided to restructure his deal. They took his roster bonus and spread it out over extra years, essentially adding a void year in 2028. That means even though Wilkins won't be with the team that year, the Raiders will still have to account for $9.9 million in dead cap space. Now, void years can be tricky. The Raiders have had their fair share of bad ones, like paying for guys who didn't even finish their contracts, such as Jimmy Garoppolo or Devontae Adams. But this one? This one actually makes sense. Wilkins is 30 years old now, and his contract runs through 2027. By the time he hits free agency at 33, the team will have already gotten the best years out of him. In the short term, this move gives the Raiders more cap space to make key improvements. It's a smart strategy by general manager Tom Telesco. The Raiders are playing the long game while keeping one of their best players happy. But will this move pay off in the long run? Only time will tell. Now, this raises an interesting question. What are the Raiders planning to do with all this extra cap space? Are they gearing up for a big trade? Maybe looking to extend a key player? Or could they be eyeing a new weapon, like a wide receiver or an offensive lineman? Let's break it down. The Raiders had $50.5 million in cap space before restructuring Christian Wilkins' contract. Now, with that move, saving them $9 million, they're sitting at a massive $59 million in available funds. That's a huge amount, especially considering they've already accounted for Geno Smith's $31 million contract. Even after setting aside around $15 million for the draft and another $10 million to fill out the roster, they'll still have over $30 million left to make big moves. That's enough to bring in 2 or 3 game-changing players. One move I really wanted to see: the Raiders signing Tyree Jenkins. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. He's heading to the Cleveland Browns instead. Jenkins, who played 38 games over the last 4 seasons, is a top 5 guard when healthy. The Browns are taking a chance on his durability, and if he stays on the field, it could be a steal. So now the question is, what's next for the Raiders? With all this cap space, they have a golden opportunity to make a splash. Will they go all in on a star player or take a more cautious approach? Either way, big decisions are coming. We've seen this story before. Young players entering the NFL, struggling with injuries early on, then figuring out how to stay on the field as their careers progress. That's exactly the case with Tevin Jenkins. After 4 seasons, his rookie contract is up, and he's off to the Browns. I really wanted the Raiders to land him. Jenkins is a top 5 guard when healthy, but even without him, the Raiders still have plenty of options. With $59 million in cap space, they have the flexibility to make smart moves. But don't expect them to just go on a spending spree. That's not how you build a winning team. Instead, the Raiders might focus on locking in some of their own key players. Take Colton Miller, for example. He's been a rock on the offensive line, and securing him long-term would be a smart investment. Then there's Malcolm Kuntze. He just signed a 1-year deal, but if he explodes out of the gate with a dominant start, the Raiders might want to lock him up before his value skyrockets. And let's not forget other young talents like Dylan Parham and Jack Jones. They're not top-tier stars yet, but extending them early could be a savvy move before their price tags go up. Of course, there are still free agents out there. Dalton Risner is an intriguing option. He has the potential to be a top 10 interior lineman. And then there's Amari Cooper. Yes, technically he's still available. Could a reunion be on the table? At this stage of free agency, the market has cooled. Teams aren't throwing huge contracts around anymore, which means the Raiders could land a couple of impact players at a bargain. The real question is, who will they go after? The Raiders have to make moves. If they want to compete for a Super Bowl while Geno Smith still has a few good years left, they need to get better, now. And speaking of Geno, his extension is likely coming soon. If not in the next couple of days, then definitely within the next week or 2. Expect him to be locked in for this season, and probably 2 more after that. Winning isn't just about having a solid quarterback. It's about building the right team around him. That means deciding which players to keep long term and which free agents can help right away. One name that keeps coming up: Amari Cooper. His last season with the Bills wasn't great, but let's not forget, just a year before that, he put up 1,200 yards. The talent is still there. And at this point, the Raiders could probably get him at a bargain. And it's not just Cooper. Keenan Allen is still available too. These are proven receivers who could come in on short-term deals, maybe somewhere in the $7 to $12 million range. Add a solid guard, and suddenly, this offense looks a lot more dangerous. Most of the big contracts have already been handed out, so whoever the Raiders sign now will likely be on 1 or 2 year deals. But the team can't afford to sit back. If they're serious about competing, they need to make a push. Now, before wrapping up, there's one more thing I want to talk about. A friend of mine posted something on Twitter about Tyree Wilson, and it really stuck with me. Wilson was the 7th overall pick. The Raiders chose him over guys like Jalen Carter, who already looks like he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and Darnell Wright, who's turning into a top 5 right tackle. That's a lot of pressure. Wilson needs to step up this season, not just for this year, but for the next decade. Some fans think he's a bust, others think he just needs time. But one thing is clear: this is a make or break year for him. There are no more excuses. Bad coaching isn't a factor anymore. Rob Leonard is an elite coach, and he's going to get the best out of Wilson. Now, it's up to Wilson to prove he was worth that pick. And speaking of potential moves, there's been some buzz about Trayvon Walker. Could he be on the trade block? That's something to keep an eye on. There was a lot of buzz on Twitter about Trayvon Walker possibly being on the trade block. I can't remember exactly who started it, but the idea makes sense. The Jaguars have big contracts coming up, and moving Walker could free up cap space. And here's the thing: Walker isn't just breaking out anymore. Last season, he was a beast, a nightmare to block. Now he's not Max Crosby. Crosby is relentless. If there are 10 plays, he's wrecking 8 of them. Walker is different. He might not blow up every snap, but he's constantly collapsing the pocket, using his athleticism, and making life miserable for offensive linemen. He's putting everything together. That brings us back to Tyree Wilson. This is his make-or-break year. And after going back and watching every snap from his last few games, I see the potential. I'm not saying Wilson is going to be a top 10 pass rusher, but he's set up to make a much bigger impact this season. And here's why. For the first time in his career, Wilson will have a full, healthy offseason. His rookie year, no offseason, no training camp, no real preparation. Year 2? It was his first time even going through the process. For most players, the jump from year 1 to year 2 is huge because they finally know what to expect. Wilson never had that. His second season was basically his rookie year. Now he finally gets a real offseason under his belt. And we already started seeing flashes late last year, especially against the Saints. He was moving well, executing defensive line stunts, getting pressure, and just being disruptive. But he still has work to do. He needs to finish plays. In the run game, he gets into the backfield, extends his arms, controls the tight end, but then just doesn't wrap up. Same thing with his pass rush. He gets close to the quarterback, but doesn't always finish the job. That's the next step for him. If he can put it all together, the Raiders might finally get the dominant pass rusher they drafted him to be. Tyree Wilson has been close so many times. He gets into the backfield, disrupts the play, but just doesn't finish. Maybe he's a fraction of a second too slow. Maybe he just misses the sack. But those are things he can clean up. This season, Wilson finally knows what to expect. He's seen enough NFL snaps to recognize blocking schemes, anticipate down blocks, and react faster. That knowledge alone should help him take a step forward. And here's the big thing: Wilson is likely to start for the Raiders at least early in the season. Malcolm Kuntz might be the better player right now, but he's coming off an injury. The Raiders won't rush him back. Kuntz relies on speed and quickness, and that takes time to recover. So Wilson will get every chance to prove himself. Let's be honest. Based on his first 2 seasons, Wilson hasn't lived up to expectations. If we're judging right now, he's been a bust. But development is real. Look at Trayvon Walker. He truly broke out in his 3rd year. His sacks weren't just cleanup plays, they were earned. Another great example? Dexter Lawrence. He relied on pure power coming out of college, but he wasn't dominant in his first couple of years. Then, in year 3, he became elite. Now, he's arguably the best interior lineman in the NFL. Wilson is a power-based player, too. That kind of development takes time. But this is the year we'll find out if he can take the next step. The Raiders have a lot of questions to answer this season, not just about Wilson, but across the roster. Christian Wilkins restructured his contract. Free agents are still signing. And let's not even start on the offensive line. Speaking of that, I'll be breaking down DJ Glaze's struggles tomorrow. The Raiders put him on an island against top defensive ends in the final 2 weeks of the season, and, well, it wasn't pretty. Stay tuned for that. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe for more updates.